got to take at least 70% of the 200 tons. I can go up to 120% of the 200 tons. After that, the next 10% is another 10% price. The next 10% is another 10% price. After that, it's free market. So, being a small department, we tailor teach the county and state. I get it. They put down 250 pounds the lane mile just like clockwork. We're marching off pretty much. If it's going to be cold, we use no salt. If it's in a wind-blown area, we don't put anything down. If it's going to clean the road, putting salt down, now the snow sticks to the road when the wind's blowing. So we're small enough that we can tailor. My guys know their routes very well. We go through about 750 to 800 ton of sand, salt mix a year. And then we supplement parking lots, intersection hills with just the salt. So it's kind of a custom blend that we do. So we don't use a lot of salt, which would break the budget. And the other thing with using salt, we'd need a night crew. Because once sun sets and the roads crash back over, you can't drive on it. It's glare. So by using sand, you still have some traffic. Okay. Sorry about that.
It's okay. Yeah. Okay. Any questions for Jeff from the board? Okay. All right. Moving on. County legislature. Kevin.
Nothing to report unless you got a question.
No report. Things are status quo at the county.
Unless you got a question.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Move along here. Jen?
Zoning and code enforcement January report. 0 building permits issued, 1 fire inspection, 93 miles traveled, 2 complaint follow-ups, 7 building inspections, 17 telephone inquiries, 31 hours work. The next planning board meeting is February 26th at 7 p.m. The next VBA meeting is March 6th at 7 p.m. No historian report received. Town clerk fees collected in January, $182. Dispersed $173 to the town of Preble and $9 to New York State Ag and Markets.
Thanks, Jen. We'll start with unfinished business. Short-term rentals. Don, can you give us an update on where we sit now and what we have to do from here?
The law's in place.
Okay. So, and we have the contract, we have the permit form.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's, I don't know if we've got hard copies. I was going to talk to Jennifer after the meeting to see if we've got hard copies sitting here as well as on the website.
Okay.
Make sure they're available.
Okay. Next item is post office. We have it. Post office contacted us and asked us if if we're going to renew their lease, and so we want to just talk about this as far as do we want to keep the post office here? Do we want to say that they have to move somewhere else? And do we want to expand our offices into there? There's pros and cons to all of this. If we kick the post office out, we expand the offices, we're kind of taking on a lot of expense of remodeling this building. So that means that we're going to stay here in this place for a while. And we're not going to have the income from the post office anymore. And we also have a situation over the next 5 years or so where we're not going to be able to get as much sales tax from the county as we have been in the past. So that's going to dwindle off. So there's a few moving parts in this. And I just wanted to see what the board has thought about the post office, either keeping it.
Do we have an option to increase the rent or?
Yeah, I would think so. There's always an escalation of rent in these leases, and that's standard for the post office. So
I think we should get some prices or cost estimates to do what needs to be done with this building.
prior.
So we know what we're dealing with before we make a decision on whether the post office stays or goes.
Mm-hmm.
Cause it, I mean, the last several months, it's not been big enough.
Right.
You know, medium hasn't been big enough. And, you know,
Pretty
we heard- yeah.
pretty congested and, you know, like you said, we gotta find out how much it costs to revamp that the way we need it. I know the vault is super filled and, you know, there's no room for anything else in there. Some of that stuff may be able to come out, but I know, the judge's records and things, we got stuff on, Jeff's dad was the judge down there and it's gotta be there forever. Certain things gotta be there forever, so I don't know. Obviously, you know, it's a little bit better than it was, but you know, we get involved with, we had this a couple years ago when they, Mark Helms came in with an active shooter and stuff, you know, there's no easy way out, but there wouldn't be no easy way out there. I think we just gotta figure out if we're just gonna, you know, you could put the code officers and planning board and that stuff over on the other side, or increase the rent if it's too much for us to take on.
Just so you know, the current lease term expires the end of November of 26. But I would expect that we're gonna start hearing more from the USPS because they need to plan.
They want usually a year. I mean, so by this
Yeah,
coming
right.
November, I would think they'd want an answer.
They sent a solicitation out at least a couple months ago, so
Mhm.
yeah, they're looking to
Mhm.
determine what our intentions are.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, in order to get some kind of an estimate on revamping this building, we're gonna have to have a list of what exactly we want to do with it. Now, we want to take off the ceiling and revert it back to the old style of ceiling, I would think. And I guess the person who knows the most about this building is Jeff. I don't know how deeply you want to get into this tonight, Jeff.
Can I say something? This was a historical building, and we had the fella here from the historical, he said, yes, you qualify for it, but they never pursued it after I got through being supervisor. So I think you wanna watch what you do around, because he come up and looked in the ceiling, he says, oh, that's all right. So you wanna check with them before you do anything.
Right, I know there's
Yeah.
certain restrictions, things you can and can't do to a historical building, so.
So if you're remodeling,
Yeah.
you wanna take that, because
Yep.
you can put this in the historical.
Yeah, but it's not designated as a historical building presently.
Well, you have to file for it.
Right.
Because I had to follow, look, and they were
Right.
supposed to follow through and they never followed through. Why not have it historical?
So if we wanted to have it as a historical building, there are certain things that we need to follow as far as bringing it back to the original style of the building.
Maybe some grants for that too, who knows? I mean,
Yeah, there could be grants for it. Yeah.
To answer your question, Jim, I think step one would be, get a hold of Paul Sheneman. He's got a set of blueprints that we used for the HVAC system, the windows, when we did the insulating like that.
Mhm.
So at least you have a footprint. And I know he's semi-retired, so I don't know if he'd be interested in taking on, writing an RFP, you know, to get an estimate,
Mhm.
or just use an engineering estimate, but, and plus he'd have a good idea what you could and couldn't do as well. I think you need to get, you know, somebody that's involved with that on a daily basis, not, I'll be glad to help, but I'm not
Right.
gonna be
We,
the point person.
the input that you just gave us is good. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that would be my take, is we, you know, get a hold of Paul and see, so that you can at least sit around the table and look at an accurate sketch of the building and get the square footage. You know, a lot of those things are, you know, if it's so high a ceiling, so many square feet, it's gonna be this much for an estimate to do the floors, this much for the sidewalls, this much for the ceilings, you know, and then at least, you know, get a ballpark figure where you're at.
Mhm.
That'd be my take.
And then just the other part of it is, you know, losing that income and realizing that we're not gonna have the sales tax income that we've been having in the past. So, you know, we might be biting off more than we can chew if we wanna do something like this.
But we at least have to know what those numbers are.
I would think, yeah. Get an estimate anyway.
Now, would this, at that point, I mean, would the board decide, or would you have a public hearing to get people's help on time?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. I mean, you certainly can have like an informational meeting to obtain, you know, public input. I don't think it would be a formal public hearing as we have in regard to, you know,
We're
proposed
gonna do it,
local
or we're
law
not
or
gonna do
something
it,
like
just
that.
informational,
Yeah, you know, you really can't do a referendum
okay.
on it and let the majority rule necessarily. Yeah, and as you think about it, I mean, November 26th, you know, that's not a lot of
that far
time to
away.
do this and know whether you're gonna go ahead or not. You may be required to make a commitment, and you could do both hand in hand, but maybe extend what you have, because all this stuff takes longer than you think.
Right.
Plus funds. What do we got allocated? Got any money set aside? You know,
Maybe
So-
might even be possible, get a 2-year lease, so we get everything in, you know. If we don't want another 5-year, we could do a 2-year, and it might
Mhm.
make a difference.
Yeah, so it's not any too soon to engage in conversation with USPS rep. They actually work through, this came from, they hire an agency to negotiate these on their behalf. It's not even, you don't deal directly with the US Postal Service.
Mhm.
And then they put in here that, well, we paid their fee. It's like, well, wait a minute, you're the agents for the
Yeah.
Postal
Right.
Service, but the deal is we pay your fee. So,
Question. If it was mentioned about the historical society idea, and I was just concerned that, well, would there be stipulations with them that for our needs, it would tell you that you can't move interior walls? You might want to be able to do that. You know, just something to think about.
Yeah, that's something to think about. I don't have, of course, the answer to that question, but that would be something for an architect or engineer to consider. Okay, so any other questions or comments with the board about this topic? Okay, so we'll move along here. Moratorium for wind turbines. John?
yep, so we, we've had this proposed local law that would hold off wind turbine projects for 9 months, 270 days. We referred it to county planning. I think you've seen their recommendation. There's a typo in one part, so they're recommending correct the typo. We can do that. And the other is recommending a seeker, which you don't need to do a seeker on a moratorium.
Well, why did they say that then?
Don't know.
Yeah, if I read it in here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We don't need to do that.
okay.
It just says compliance with seeker requirements, so if it's not required, then we're
Mhm.
compliant.
Right.
Okay.
That's right. So it may just be a pro forma bullet
Mhm.
point that they put in there. And we had our public hearing last month.
Mhm.
So with the receipt of the county planning board's recommendation, you can enact this moratorium
Okay,
or vote on it.
so we need a motion to install a moratorium for wind turbines for the town of Preble. If anybody wants to make that motion?
I just want to say before we actually vote, Tully had a big meeting up there 2 weeks ago,
Yeah, 29th, yeah.
and they got information. Jim's got some
There's
information
a-
here that we can hand out
It's a
and
whole
stuff.
pile of,
And it really, we're pretty, even if we put this moratorium in, it may not make a bit of difference, And like you said, we got 9 months to decide whatever goes on, but the people up there even said, with this rapid act that they got now, Cuomo started it, and then our governor now is really pushing for. It may get a little pushback now with the other president in there now, because he's for the more fossil fuel than the green energy, but I'm just saying right now, I'm in favor of putting the moratorium in, but it's not a stop all.
Right, so to that point, right, when a solar project or a wind project hits a certain megawatt, the local municipality doesn't have the approval or denial rights, right? We can give input, but we don't have control over the approval process. And we did look at that actually last week in connection with another town we represent. And the cutoff in terms of the megawatts that it's either in the state's hands or remains in ours, it's about, according to what we put together, it's like a little over 7.5, equivalent of 7 or 7.5 of those turbines, that how much they produce, generally speaking, that's the size of the project. Somewhere in there where it hits that or greater, it's the state. If it's less than that, it would retain local. It's something on that magnitude. So you're absolutely right. And this would also allow, I mean, there's been a discussion started with the planning board. I don't know if there's any planning board members here tonight, but they started at the last meeting discussing, this topic, and presumably you would like them to work on some proposed regulations, and they make that part of the recommendations to the board. And again, if we can put all of that together with the revised zoning ordinance that's still out there from like 5 or 6 years ago, if we're within the 9 months, then we could enact the whole thing. Otherwise, it would be a separate local law, potentially.
Okay. So we don't know exactly what the state has in mind as far as how many turbines might be in the town of Preble.
Right.
But we can certainly go ahead with our moratorium and take it from there.
Because we don't have any applications yet,
Not yet.
submitted,
Right.
but yeah.
Rick seems to think that the applications are coming, but there's nothing definite yet.
Mhm.
So I would go along with doing the moratorium. So, and take it from there. And if the state tells us later on that, they don't have any say, then that's the way it is.
But it gives the planning board time to come up with, distances from property lines, that kind of stuff. So.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
we
it
don't have
also
any of that in there now.
can deal with the small individual
Mhm.
systems as well as the testing towers too that they
Mhm.
put up.
Okay, so we need a motion to initiate the moratorium.
I'll make a
For wind
motion to initiate the moratorium for the wind turbines.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Harry?
So that would be local law 2 of 2025.
Mhm. Next item is just a follow-up. We had a complaint filed by Frank Surratt, back in July of 23, against Preble Hill Farm. And he was complaining about certain issues, noise and speed of trucks and hauling of manure and so on. And so this is a copy of the complaint, and then the response from the state. And the state did not find any negligence on the part of Preble Hill Farm, and Preble Hill Farm did not have to pay any penalty towards this at all. So this complaint has been satisfied. New business, Board of Assessment and Review. We need a new member because we have a member who has left the community, moved away. And so we need to fill his position. So if anybody knows anybody who would like to be on that board, that it only meets once a year, but it's very essential for the town. We need to find somebody to replace Mike, who
There's
has
certain
left.
things they have to know.
Well, they have some training
Yeah,
in that.
okay, there is training.
There's a
They
training
go,
class
yeah.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
Next item is Code Enforcement Officer Rick Fritz has requested a an assistant to do some of the work that he's doing right now. And Jay Curry has stepped forward to say that he would like to assist Rick Fritz in that. Now, I know that Rick Fritz got a raise this past year, but he feels like there's more activity, especially with the short-term rental issue. And so he wants to enlist Jay Curry to do some part-time work for him. Part of that would be taking care of his paperwork and filing, following up with residents on different issues. So,
Now, how much of that would actually, I mean, once they file their permit and the permit is granted, how much more follow-up is there?
we don't really know. We've never done this before. We're taking this one step at a time. But Rick is requesting this help. So I don't know if it's going to have to come out of our budget to pay Jay Curry an hourly fee of some sort, or a flat rate for the year, but it's going to be part-time. Maybe, I'm thinking maybe 4 hours a week or something on his part.
Does he have duties in mind for Jay to do, or does he have some kind of proposal that,
Well, nothing in writing.
okay,
Maybe
There should be like a job description.
maybe we want a job
Yeah, more
description in
detail.
writing.
And,
Yeah.
computerize, the information should be put in a computer and not just on papers.
Well, I think we should all get
Get
a
the
proposal
proposal.
Right.
from
yeah.
Rick as far as
What he actually
exactly
wants.
what.
No, I think it's by April that the state is requiring registration of those, and I believe it's up to the county to put together a process to. The law was enacted December 23rd. Hochul signed it.
Mhm.
That the short-term rentals, Airbnb, VBRO, to be registered, all applicants should be registered. And I believe it said it would be based through the county
Mhm.
that would work with the towns on that.
Isn't that a great thing? Another thing that the county has to do. Everything costs money.
That's on, it's on their website.
Right. You sent me an email on that today, and I did do a little bit of reading
Yeah.
on that.
Mhm.
They want to start that around March 25th,
March 25th.
and they want to work with the counties.
Yeah, so that should help us out as to identification
Mhm.
and application processes.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see how that starts playing out.
Mhm.
We'll take it as it comes. And Kevin might have some input for us later on as far as in the coming months about
Yeah,
that.
I think you're pretty much doing it already.
Okay, monies received. We received $779 from USPS. We received $1,771.89 from Northeast Transformers. And fourth quarter sales tax, we received $148,797.58 from Cortland County. Now we need to pay the bills. We need a motion to pay the general fund vouchers.
I make a motion to pay general fund vouchers abstracts number 2, numbers 17 to 38, totaling $73,462.12.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Need a motion to pay the highway fund vouchers.
I'll make a motion to pay the highway fund vouchers abstract number 2, numbers 6 to 15, totaling $43,160.22.
second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. At this time, I'd like to open up the meeting for public comment or questions. And after that, we will go into an executive session about client attorney privilege to speak about, what are we speaking
Well, it's a
about?
legal matter.
It's a legal matter?
affecting the
Okay.
court.
Okay, but first we'll do public comment and after that, go into executive session. After we come out of executive session, we won't take any action. We'll just simply adjourn the meeting. So If anybody has any questions or comments they want to bring up,
I do.
okay?
I'd like to know what Rick Fritz does. You get so many calls. What's the calls about? He answers different fire calls. Where is it? I mean, he puts in the mileage to you, but do you know where he's going? Is he coming from his house here or what? You have no information. Yeah, now he wants a clerk, but what does he do? Sits here in the office and talks to different people. That's it.
He goes out and does inspections.
When?
He
I
does
mean,
it.
do you know, actually know, the whole board knows what inspections he's done? Nobody does. You ask him, all you get is a piece of paper where the mileage, the phone calls, and inspections. But what are they? Is he actually doing them?
Well, I've been around with him.
Yeah,
different
but I
times.
mean, does
Yeah,
the
but
rest
not
of the
every
board
day.
know? He should give you a list of where he went, what he did, but not just a
Mhm,
figure, how many he's done.
mhm,
How many miles he putting in? He tells you the miles, but where'd he go?
mhm.
I think he's very inaccurate with his information. And he gets a raise for what? And he put him on payroll, and that's costing the town money too. Because it's costing insurance. And he gets injured in another place, and now he wants us to put him on the town board. When he was originally hired, he was flat, no, just so much
He
money.
was a contractor.
Huh?
He was a
That's what
contractor
it is.
originally.
But then and now he's putting more all the way around. But is he doing any more? No.
He's not doing any more, but his pay increases are basically cost of living, inflation pay increases.
But you should ask what he does. I mean, you've gone around with him, is it every time or what?
No, I don't go around
Because
with him every time.
I told him there was a complaint. He says, nobody's filed it. Why don't they file a complaint here? Well, who's gonna call and tell a complaint? Somebody's got 10 cars in their lot. Are they gonna, neighbor's gonna call in and tell him and sign a paper, and he'll tell us so-and-so called, and then there's a conflict. He should go out and look, not having people turn in information to him. Then he goes out and looks after somebody files a complaint. I know that for a fact.
Okay, thanks for the comment, Vivian. Yes.
I just think the board owes Kevin a apology for letting Joe Keith that time tell Kevin that he didn't want to hear him talk anymore when the rest of us did.
I think so too.
You're good. You're okay.
But, right, I mean, the way he's talking,
Oh, I know. Contention. I get it.
but it could have been stopped,
Shouldn't have been
but
happening.
it's not acceptable. Yeah, we allow it though. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I do have one that I did forget,
Okay.
just because it's gonna be public, right? So everybody knows that we are now with, Central, Transit,
Mhm.
and, which is a good thing for Cortland County. One of the requirements, though, is that we have to have a member on their board, on their transit authority board. It's a board of 13 people, all ways of their professional careers, attorneys, so on and so forth. We do have one that's on there, it's a bus driver. So now Cortland County is required to have one. So we're looking out for community members that want to participate and that like transit, think that they can contribute to Cortland County Transit. There are some steps that you have to go through. One of them is it's a governor's appointment. So it has to go through the state Senate, Senate hearing, background checks, before it moves to the governor for approval. That's the caveat. It's a non-paid position.
That was my next question.
That's another caveat.
I always went for the other side. So it's a non-paid position. They do pay mileage. They meet the fourth Friday of every month in Syracuse. So I just wanted to reach out to, the community. If they have names or anything, that they can contact me or the clerk of the legislature, for us to start doing this process.
What would their duties actually be, do you know?
Their duties are legislation, routes, funding of improvements, buses, all that. It is a 7-year term, but it's a 7-year term that you can just
Resign.
put in your paper and said, I'm done. I can't take this anymore. But, they have had some benefits, but it is also an advocate to vote for Cortland County, and connections from Cortland to Syracuse or whatever. So it is a full Monty. It's the governing body for it. So just wanted to put it out there for everybody. We have to put 2 names out for consideration and to go through that process. And we're trying to look at least to have these in place by April, because that is when Centro is looking to take over Cortland County.
Okay, so that's a request for anyone who wants to do that. And if anyone is interested, or you know of anybody interested, contact Kevin.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
or the clerk of the legislature.
Okay, good. Any other questions or comments?
I know this is probably not hurting anything we're doing here, except I think I remember seeing in the local news thing that you put out
Mhm.
a couple
Newsletter,
times a year
yeah.
about the, this is embarrassing, Northeast Transformer people advertising that they would give people a tour of their facility.
Mhm.
Are you familiar with that at all? Has
Mhm.
that really happened? I went down there and I haven't heard anything back from them.
Yeah, I can say, yes, you can. You go right up to their front office,
I did.
to their reception, and if the owners are there, they will give you a tour. I can set one up if you would like.
It's a one-on-one tour or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, very impressed. I was very impressed.
Well, I'm not picking on them. I just was
No.
curious.
Yeah, so more than happy to if you would like.
I
How
know
do
we did it right after they first opened up, and it was very impressive then, and it's even more so now.
I see a lot of people up there. I don't.
Yeah, because you know how people were, we had, some had concerns about PCBs and the transformers. And so I was like, so I said, well, let me go look. I want to go look.
That was one of my jobs back 40 years ago. Was working on PCB transformers.
Yeah, and these are all mineral oil. And if there was anything for that, what's kind of cool about Northeast Transformers is that, they're a company, from Cortland. And if we have transformers that are out, even though they're on orders, filling these retro orders, they will pull and they will supply us, and then they'll just go right behind and create and build a new one. That I thought that was kind of cool, because usually that's why your power's out, is the transformer's gone, right? But they have supplied for Cortland County to get ours back up and running. So I think that's a huge success for
Plus,
Cortland
yeah.
County for their, like, yeah, I'm more than happy. Matter of fact, I asked them if I could talk to their employees, and they were like, yeah, go right ahead, do whatever you want. So I did. I pulled some off, talked to them, and they're very happy there. And so they have nothing bad to say. I might actually have their card if you want to, schedule, but I can schedule a tour if you'd like.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Suggestion might be to set a date or something and how many people they might take and hit it all with, instead of having 10 single people go up there, if they just do a group or something someday, pick a day.
Yeah.
Just maybe put it in spring newsletter after snow melts or
Well,
whatever.
I know in the past that they have offered it to the town board members.
Yeah.
of doing a tour, and I've been on probably 3 different tours of their facilities, and they're constantly growing and expanding there. And like Kevin said, they're good people, very accommodating, family oriented, very willing to give a tour and answer any questions that anybody has. And then, of course, concerning tours, there's March 5th with Jeff and his group.
Somebody
That's
wanna
open
go to
any-
Albany?
Yeah, that's now open to any board members that want to go to that.
I go there at 24th
So,
of this month.
any other questions or
I'm back.
comments?
Well, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, Dan.
I'll get your name. We can do that.
I can do what?
Okay, so at this time, we're gonna go into executive session. We need a motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion, to go in executive session at 7:40.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Karen?
So what, he's gonna be on.